thank you. Welcome to the Film Fan Club show. I'm Sam Carrico. Great show coming up. Ricardo Saucedo is back. He released a new short film. He'll talk about that. Then we're going to discuss Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Yes, there's a new Planet of the Apes movie out. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was playing in theaters recently, and there's an ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia. Wow, it really does feel like 2014 all over again. Or, alternatively, with a new Planet of the Apes movie out and rampant anti-war college campus protests happening, it feels like the 1960s again. Or, as we're getting over a pandemic and the economy is bad, feels like the 1920s again.
All of history is happening at once. But what does that mean?
Let's move on. Hey, the new Supergirl movie has a release date. The Craig Gillespie directed film will hit theaters on June 26th, 2026. I'm so excited for it. Not because I'm a huge fan of the character, but because I'm a huge fan of the actress playing Supergirl. I can't be the alone in this, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to see her flying around and kicking some butt? And I'm not just saying that because I want to see James Gunn's Superman film be topped. Sorry, I'm still stuck on that first picture. It's like they took all the excitement and joy of the Superman franchise and replaced it with a bunch of bland CGI-heavy scenes. No thanks. And don't get me started on David Cornsweet, the actor playing Superman. I mean, he's not bad or anything, but he's no Henry Cavill. I'll stick with Supergirl, thanks. Speaking of hot things, have you seen the trailer for Rings of Power Season 2? Yeah, it's like they took all the worst parts of the books and adapted them into a TV show. What's going on with Sauron's wig? Is he trying to make a comeback as a hair model or something? Enough of that. Let's do a monologue. We previously told you about the case of Yesterday and Ana de Armas, but if you need a reminder, two guys sued Universal Studios after they rented the movie Yesterday and realized that Ana de Armas, although in the trailer she was cut from the final version of the film, they claimed that the trailer was false advertising and they were misled into renting the movie. I mean, can you imagine if that happened to you? I know if I was promised a night with Ana de Armas and didn't get it, I'd demand my money back too. It's not just about Ana de Armas, though. Think of all the other times that we've been misled by movie trailers. You remember that trailer for The Tourist with Angelina Jolie and Johnny Depp? It looked like an action-packed spy thriller when it was really just a romantic comedy. That was frustrating. It's like they're trying to pull a fast one on us. Like that time they made Bridge to Terabithia. You remember this? They tried to make Bridge to Terabithia look like a Chronicles of Narnia type film when it was really about, it was a drama about child death and loss. And hell, most of the musicals that I've seen recently came as complete surprises to me because the trailers straight up hid that they're musicals. It is false advertising, and I'm with the consumers on this. A night at the theater costs a lot more than it used to, and if you spend your hard-earned money because a trailer sold you on one movie, you're allowed to feel swindled when that movie ends up being something entirely different. In the case of Yesterday and Ana de Armas, I love saying that, it's like a Sherlock Holmes novel, but in this case, both sides agreed to settle out of court for an undisclosed amount, but neither seemed happy with the outcome. Universal reportedly spent hundreds of thousands of dollars defending against what they thought was a frivolous lawsuit, while the plaintiff's lawyers initially believed they had a slam-dunk case worth millions. Ultimately, it seems both sides came away with nothing. So if that's how they're gonna play, can we at least agree on something? Let's make a pact to be more critical of these trailers from now on. Deal? Alright, we've got a great show for you lined up. Let's get right to Ricardo Saucedo to discuss Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Is this film going to be an Ape-fect sequel, or is this just monkey business? Let's find out. Let's welcome tonight's guest. He is a filmmaker based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And of course, I always like to remind people, one of the original co-creators of the Film Fan Club YouTube channel, Ricardo Saucedo is coming back to the show. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, Sam. It's good to be back. It's always a good time on the show.
Always
Lots of
a
memories,
pleasure.
of course.
Oh, of course. I think nine years in September, and then of course the big 10-year anniversary in September of 2015, which is what, or in 2025 will be 10 years because we started in September of 2015. Wild to think about. Wild to think about. We were just talking about the Fantastic Four movie that came out the summer of 2015. The movie landscape, I mean, to think of how bad superhero movies were then, and now we're back to superhero movies being bad again. So everything has happened before, everything will happen again.
We went full circle. Yeah, it's crazy to think so much time has gone by. Let's not talk about that.
You're also a filmmaker, of course, based in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you have Midnight Classics, your production company with your brother Eduardo Saucedo, also friend of the show. Since you were last on to talk about Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, which everybody, including myself, has already forgot about. This was before you released your new short film, The Prisoner Cinema. Now that it's out and people obviously have a chance to check it out on YouTube, could you just tell me a little bit about what that was like and what it's like, the reception has been since you released it?
Well, it was a just a very simple premise, just an idea we had a few years ago, something we had in the back pocket, and we figured, it's we haven't been able to show our more ambitious projects, like too much of them recently, so we're like, let's just get the small one out of the way, just to kind of show people what we could do in terms of like with our visuals and editing. Um, Simple idea. I can't even really talk about it too much. Like a guy's stuck in a room, and you kind of just go um, through the motions of discovering what this is and what he's feeling with him. But yeah, if your audience would like to check it out, it'd be great. Uh, People seem to really like it. The dark, moody atmosphere. So if anyone has an interest in that, they can check that out.
Yeah, primarily located in a screening room, without giving too much away.
Hmm.
And obviously film fan. I enjoyed that aspect of it. I was like, oh yeah, nice little tip of the hat. I kind
Hmm.
of thought. It obviously with a short film with a running and gunning it kind of guerrilla warfare style shooting. I always like, I'm like, what could be done with the limitations that you have? And I thought you were able to make great use out of kind of the minimalistic approach and
Thank
kind of
you.
the claustrophobic feel of the short film. So I appreciated that. I want to ask kind of what's next. Obviously, you started a whole separate YouTube channel, Midnight Classics, to be the home of not only the Prisoner Cinema but any future projects. I see here it says "Where It's Warm" sneak peek as well. What can we expect from future projects from Midnight Classics?
Well, yeah, Where It's Warm is looking to be at least like a three-part kind of a film series, if you will. It started off, it was when I was in college, back when I was still doing that. Um, it was just a short film idea project. The original video was like 7, 8 minutes long, and we just liked this kind of world that we had created, so we wanted to, I guess, embellish more, add more beats and stuff, and just expand more with what, you know, different camera angles and how we can tell the story visually. Um, but it's, actually similar enough to a film that we're going to talk about. It's kind of, we don't outright say it, but it is kind of supposed to give you like post-apocalyptic kind of vibes, like, where is society, all this, and like just it's about brothers protecting each other and um, discovering what different kinds of threats there are when society is gone. So similar themes to, exactly like Planet of the Apes, but no apes in this one, no animals harmed. Or were they? No, I'm just kidding. Um, but yeah, we should have part one coming out pretty soon. I would hope to have an official date in the next couple weeks, but definitely by, oh gosh, definitely by the end of June. Let's say that. But we also have another short film we're actually tailoring specifically for a film festival. Um, and I'm not too sure. I think some festival rules are kind of, you have to they're not allowed to like launch on YouTube or another website. Like you have to show them at a festival first. But another idea we're having is like kind of a crime noir kind of story. So hopefully I'm able to share more about that pretty soon.
And
But
people
yeah,
can subscribe to Midnight Classics on YouTube. I'm sure any updates will also be posted there as well.
thank you. Appreciate any support.
What a wonderful day!
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is a movie that we saw. I was skeptical of a fourth Planet of the Apes movie because the first three, War for the Planet of the Apes was a letdown. So I was like, all right, the first two are really good. War for the Planet of the Apes,
I think maybe we've mined all the best sweet material we can out of this franchise. Time to let it die. So I was a little skeptical of a fourth Planet of the Apes movie. And Andy Serkis is not, he's not in the director's chair, or he's not playing he's not playing Caesar in this movie. So I was like, all right, how good is it going to be? Um, right off the top, I was very, very impressed by it. I love this movie.
Yeah.
What did you think of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes? We saw it together in IMAX. Thank you for that, by the way.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Yeah, I was also I had some mild trepidation. I actually personally I do think the second one is the best, but I would edge the third one just slightly over the first one.
Wow.
Just because I just love all the emotions that come out of the I don't know if it's the motion capture acting or the lingering shots, but it's so I don't know, it's very compelling to me, the third one. It's more like an internal war for
Hmm.
Caesar and his own he becomes a Sith kind of for a second, falling into hatred. And it costs like his whole his colony of apes, like they get captured because of his own personal vendetta against that colonel. But anyways, we're not talking about the third one. Um, Beautiful story, beautiful trilogy. Thought it ended amazing. Um, and yeah, it's one of those things where you like, I would like to spend more time here with these characters, this story, this world. But it feels like it's all kind of wrapped up. And I think the decision to make it take place, it says many generations later.
Yes.
I feel like it's at least 200 to 300 years. They don't say anything specifically, but I think that was a good idea. I feel like having it be like Caesar's immediate son, what was his name? Cornelius, I think. Um, that could have like
Right.
almost would undermine that trilogy because like you would want there to be a long period of peace and like building for the apes. And then just the way it kind of mirrors our own history with like religious texts through the years getting misinterpreted, the teachings, the laws of Caesar, how they are viewed and misconstrued in this movie, which I feel like that's probably the main idea of this movie of like Caesar's legacy, Caesar's shadow, and all these new characters. They are interesting in their own ways. Obviously, that they're not going to be anything close to what Caesar was, but seeing them navigate this world is what made it a really great time for me.
I also love
And
that
yeah,
it was 300 or 200, 300 years after the original trilogy, because I it also makes me think maybe they should have done that for the Star Wars sequel trilogy. If they wanted to do a remake of A New Hope with The
yeah,
Force Awakens, maybe they should have just admitted they're not going to have Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford because they didn't do anything with them anyways. And maybe they should have just said it. And if you want to do your New Hope remake, do The Force Awakens, but it's 300 years after
yeah,
Return of the Jedi. That would have made me like it probably a lot more, because then you could, and then yeah, anyway, because then it's like the good guys did win for 300 years. That's a great, I think that works really well in this movie. I was very skeptical of like, yeah, see, I think you make a great point. Cornelius would have just been compared to Caesar, but in this movie, Noah, I believe is our main character's name. I didn't compare him to Caesar at all because I just see him as your everyman ape in this movie.
mm,
What I like about this movie also is, which some people have said is kind of a negative, is it's just kind of the hero's journey. Like it's
yeah,
not very difficult to understand. It's very straightforward. He starts out. They take a lot of time setting up the character, which I appreciated. They the first act, there's a lot of table setting, introducing what this world is like. Which again, you said just want to spend more time in this world. This movie lets you kind of breathe in the atmosphere in the first, third of the film, set up his little community. So then whenever it's taken away from him, we care about his characters, we care about his dad, we care about Noah. And so again, that kind of goes to it's the classic hero's journey. He's forced to leave his every day and then go on this journey. He meets other people along the way. Probably my favorite character in the movie is Raka, the
yeah,
orangutan that Noah
mhm,
meets along the way. And you mentioned this because you are you being a filmmaker, you're more attuned to the language of cinema than I am. There's a couple of setups early on in the film that are paid off beautifully later on in the film. It's not
Oh yeah,
complicated, but I thought it was just very straightforward, good filmmaking, and I don't feel like we get a lot of that. It's a cliche
it's
to say, but we
satisfying.
don't get a lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta, give people what they want in the back of their head. You want Jon Snow to kill the Night King.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I just keep going back to that payoff in the third act of this film, and there's two really good payoffs in the third act of this film. But is there anything that you want to say about the character of Noah, or really just the first third of the film, and
Yeah.
as we're kind of talking
Um,
about setups, table setting?
y- I really liked Noah. I liked that he was very unsure of himself. Um, I just rewatched Rise. That's still pretty fresh in my mind. They look to be about the same age. Um,
Oh,
like
okay,
Noah in this one, and then Caesar in Rise. So
yeah.
just seeing how strong, confident, and what's the word? Caesar's very quick to make decisions himself,
Hmm.
and Noah seems he's a lot more reactive, I guess, than proactive. I guess is what I should have said. He's more meek, humble. Um, you can see he reveres his father a lot, and that's like his main. "Oh, I just want to make my dad proud and eventually like become the I forgot what the bird master or whatever it was
Master
called.
of Birds, I think.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And then even when this their world starts to fall apart when they discover the other apes, um, like you can still like he's like he doesn't believe it almost. He's like, oh wow, well it's everything I've worked for and believed in is actually like irrelevant in the grander scheme of these in this world. Um,
He's
but
basically
yeah,
just a moisture farmer on Tatooine at the beginning of this movie.
exactly.
Again, it's the hero's journey, which people are like,
Yeah,
"Oh, it's lazy, it's whatever." I think you can find that to be a feature or a bug, and I just ate it right up. I love archetypes. I know who Carl Jung is. Like, come on.
yeah,
It's good shit. You mentioned the deification of Caesar, and I thought that was really good too, especially the different takes on it. Because we meet Raka early on in the film. He teaches us kind of the I don't want to say the right way to look at Caesar because it's all angles and stuff, but the more nuanced way to look at the legend of Caesar through Raka. But then the villains they say, for Caesar, like I can't, I think it's a reveal later, or no, it's a reveal early on in the film. Whenever the villain
mm,
says for Caesar as he's killing his loved one or Noah's loved
yeah.
ones. So we
But
actually,
like,
it's the opposite. Yeah, it's the villain's perspective first, then we get the nuanced perspective later. And I just liked those differing opinions on what happened in the original three movies.
yeah, I loved Raka. Yeah, he had the more historically accurate context of Caesar.
Yes.
Um, Man, and then that's also kind of something that's disappointing to see, but also makes sense is like how um you would hope Caesar's teachings and his ideas of peace and respect and coexistence like that you would hope that would just transcend throughout the rest of their history, but
Yeah.
unfortunately that's not the case. And people like yeah the antagonist ape, the what's his name,
Proximus
Proximus
Caesar.
Caesar.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is just co-opting his name to feed his own ambitions. But he also is kind of a great character. I realized because he was right about some things. Are we getting into spoilers in this or?
So before we do spoilers, though, I just want to say I do recommend the film. I really hope that anybody watching this that hasn't seen it yet watches it. And before we jump in, would you like to say whether you recommend it or not?
I recommend it for sure. Do you do ratings?
I don't, but you can.
Okay. Um,
I give it
if I
five
had
bags.
to rate it,
Yeah, I give it 5 bags of popcorn, I guess.
I would give it an 8, like a solid 8. There are, I think you mentioned earlier, there's some pacing issues. You could probably trim out maybe 10 minutes. But it's, personally, I don't mind it because it's just fantastic to be witnessing this story in this film and these characters. But for the average person, they might get a little sleepy there in the middle.
Yeah, I do wonder if the
Maybe
pacing is an issue for some people.
I know like Mr. Johns didn't enjoy it as much. I don't know if you saw his review.
I did
Jeremy.
not. Oh no.
Uh he said if you're drunk, which but I
Wow.
wasn't drunk and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it
But
was a fantastic movie.
maybe one, if I could choose one thing to change, is maybe just introduce Proximus. Like give him his own scene a little bit early on, just so you're introduced to his personality and way of thinking.
I wouldn't change a thing.
Um, you know what? You're right. It's perfect. Go watch it. You
Five
should
bags
go
of
watch it no matter
popcorn
what.
and maybe like 2 bananas as well. Maybe no, 5 bags of popcorn and 5 bananas. That way they put it in the popcorn and like maybe mix it together. It's an
Just
interesting
Law.
combination.
You remember
All right.
that? Law.
I don't
Yeah.
remember. No, I don't remember that. I've forgotten the movie already. How many times have you seen it?
3.
3 times. Yeah, we
Yeah.
gotta.
3
Oh,
now.
I should have had my poster. Let's take a break. Let me go get my
Yeah.
poster, and then we'll come right. We'll be right back.
All right, let's do some plugs. Did you know the Film Fan Club show is available as a podcast? Yeah, if you want to listen to us in the car, maybe at the gym, don't have time for the video element, you can follow us on Apple and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to just see clips of the Film Fan Club show, we post on TikTok, Facebook Reels. You can follow us at the Film Fan Club there. And finally, I'm on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to hear more from me, I'm at Samuel D. Carrico. All right, let's get back to the show.
Okay, and we're back from our break. You were just going to talk about, before I rudely cut you off, you're going to talk about Proximus Caesar and go a little bit more in depth into his motivation. I'd like to remind our audience that we're in spoiler mode now. So, oh man, anything can be said. What do you have to say about
Spoilers.
Proximus Caesar, Ricky?
Uh, Great antagonist. I really wish that he could be in the sequels, but unfortunately he met his end. Um,
And now we're in
big spoiler
spoilers.
there.
That's
Yeah.
the payoff that I love so much. Not only do you get the payoff of I mean the war, it's the law, but sometimes the law is wrong. Bam.
Wrong.
That was the
Best scene.
payoff that I thought was going to come. I was like, okay, you
Yeah.
pointed it out. It's going to be great whenever the hawk comes to him, or the eagle, excuse me, the
Mhm.
eagle comes to him.
Yeah.
And it was choreographed, but I loved it every bit. The second payoff that I didn't see coming, and I think they knew that that was a little choreographed. So like, let's give you a double whammy of a payoff. The
Mm.
way that Proximus is defeated. Well, earlier on in the movie, the orangutan
Yeah.
Raka says, "Will you sing your song for me?" And he's like, "No, it's
Mhm.
my dad's song. I won't. I don't want to do it." You could tell that Noah is shameful. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't have the
Yeah.
pride that he used to have. By the end of the film, he's nearly been defeated. Proximus Caesar thinks he's got his ass. What does Noah do? He starts singing. He starts singing his song because Raka earlier, I forgot
Beautiful.
to say, Raka was like, "Oh, it's a shame. I would have loved to have heard it." Raka ends up sacrificing himself. Great scene as well. So then you come full circle, and then Noah sings his song because he has that pride again. He's surrounded by his family. He's
Mhm.
standing up for his family, and then all the brown eagles attack Proximus Caesar. It's a little cheesy, but like, and they push him off a cliff. I loved it though. It was a little cheesy, but I
Yeah.
loved it. This is a taste thing, probably, but I thought it was just
Mhm.
fan-fucking-tastic.
It also highlights one of the things that I did like about Noah a lot is that he's more and they keep saying this in the movie, he's a craftier, he's smarter. He's just uh he's a wise little fella,
Yeah,
you know. He relies on his brain a little more than his he's not the biggest ape, you know. I think even Caesar had him, outclassed in that regard. But yeah, he's just relies on his wits to get himself out of situations. Like earlier, um, the like I don't know if it was a gorilla, but like the Proximus's general, like he had got him tangled up in those pipes in the
yeah,
bunker that they were trying
yeah.
to open.
Yeah, the vault or
Um,
whatever, which again, we just
the vaults,
talked
yeah,
about Fallout last week, and it's just funny the parallels between the vaults. Like the humans I guess they hide in vaults in both timelines. And yeah, so that was an interesting MacGuffin. I liked that. I liked when we got to
mhm,
Proximacy. I love the character design. That crown that he wears is really
yeah,
cool. Obviously, everybody's memed to the death the line "What a wonderful day," but that actor's delivery behind the motion capture and the voice is just
yeah,
fantastic. And I liked you touched on his gorilla enforcer as well. What a great
mm,
class that your kind of brings to mind to like an Indiana Jones kind of. You got your henchmen, your
yeah, The big side
the
villain.
big side villain. I cannot remember
Yeah,
the muscle. The muscle. That's
the
the word I
muscle.
can't
Yeah,
remember.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, Rocka. Um, his voice actor. Don't know. I need to like actually look this up before. But next time I'm gonna have a piece of paper with all the actors' names on there. But he was phenomenal. Fantastic
Peter
voice
McCon.
performance. Uh, yeah, blew
Yeah.
it out the park. Rocka was just so believable. He felt the most human, and I guess because he was also speaking um what we know to be like the truth from the earlier films, he felt more like someone we could relate to.
Yeah.
Um, but very funny. Another the other spoiler I was gonna talk about was the fact that there are still humans who are smart and can speak and are still fighting the good fight. Um,
Yeah.
I
It's
think
not.
this was actually
Go ahead.
I think it was actually spoiled in a second trailer or a TV spot or something, but I had only seen the first trailer
Oh, that's good.
and yeah, and I didn't know that I thought it was Lily Rose Depp at first, I'm not gonna lie.
I wish it
But
was.
I didn't know that her character Nova was gonna be talking because I thought, we had moved past that, but when we got to that point in the movie and it almost had the same or similar impacts to when Caesar, he had his infamous no, um,
Parallels.
yeah, in
Yeah.
Rise, and she was like, you can tell, obviously she was trying to later on she was when she reveals that she is smart and can speak in full sentences and all that, she was trying to hide that for as long as possible, but obviously her life was in peril there, and she realized that she did trust Noah, and yeah, she called out to him. He was shocked. Everyone was shocked. Like, oh my God, this human just talked.
I was shocked.
Yeah,
I hadn't seen any of the trailers. I was able to avoid the trailers for this
good.
movie pretty well. I've seen a couple of the posters, but I did not really register them. Oh, speaking of posters, I guess I mentioned posters. Good time to mention. I went and grabbed my poster. You have yours back there as well. It's an amazing poster. I love it. I like the minimalist nature of it. We talked about minimalism a
Oh
little bit
yeah,
earlier. It's fun. It's a good, and I noticed that it's got the little symbol there, little thing, and that's from
it's the
Rise.
window.
It's the rise of the planet. I didn't
Mhm.
realize that until I saw an image later on social media, but I imagine you've seen the film since then, so you know that.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that symbol, and going back to the what we agreed to be the best scene, where he realizes the way things are and that the way things are is wrong.
Yes.
Um, it's shot so perfectly where you're feeling everything he's feeling, and then like seeing what he sees, he brings up his hand and he said, "This is the law," and he pulls out the little pendant that Rocca gave
Yes.
him of Caesar's symbol, and that's when he realizes what Caesar actually stood for, or like is realizing, he's grasping onto those tenets more, and wanting that to be the truth, and yeah, just what is wrong. Everything's been turned upside down, and he's gonna, God darn it, gosh darn it, he's gonna do something about it,
I
and
can't help but
yeah,
think about how this would have been an amazing blueprint for a Star Wars sequel trilogy. And like it kind of like imagine the legend of Luke Skywalker 300 years later
oh
being
man,
bastardized. And it's not the Sith that are the enemies, it's a faction of different Jedi that have a different, like what does the Jedi really stand for? You got your,
mm,
and and then somebody like our POV character learns the legend of like Rey, or what it can even be
mhm.
A version of Rey, learns the legend of Luke Skywalker,
It could
and
literally be Ray just in the
yeah,
future.
just it like 300. It was set 300 years
Yeah.
later. But I'm glad we got. And then the thing that's wild to me is that 20th Century Studios. This has no longer the same leadership that did the first three movies. This is a Disney movie now, technically. So that
Mm.
whole level of like, oh no, what are we doing here? It works. Even the girl who the powerful girl who can solve everything in this movie, the female
Yeah.
human survivor with the wearing. Oh, you made a perfect joke about. I don't want to steal your joke. Do you remember the joke that you said about how her outfits I found to be very inconsistent?
Um,
Well, you
I
got
don't remember the joke. Go ahead.
you. I'm going to credit this to you, but I was like, sometimes the humans look like they're wearing rags. And then you said, yeah, other times it looks like they're wearing Yeezy's new collection, and that's what she was a very stylish human being. The costume design for the
Oh,
humans,
that's funny.
300 years after Yeezy went out of business, 300 years after the last clothing factory
Yeah.
went out of business. I was a little like, wow, they have a lot. They have perfect shoes for whatever's going on. Anyways, I
These are finally in fashion.
it's a cliche that character kind of could be seen as it, but I
Mhm.
thought it worked really well the way they set up that human conflict for it
Yeah.
works in this film, but they also set it up for down the line, like as we're in spoilers, there's that amazing scene where you and I originally I think we kind of disagreed on as well what we took from that scene with the gun at the end whenever she's saying goodbye
Oh
to
yeah.
Noah, she
Mhm.
brings the gun and you see it behind her. I thought it was just in case, and you brought up an interesting
Mhm.
alternative angle was that she brought it up like planning to shoot him, right? Can you explain it better?
Yeah. Yeah, the way I interpreted it was she was on her way back to her home, which she found out to be a bunker where there are still uh dozens, if not hundreds, more smart humans. And I thought she had either been tasked to like eliminate uh as many threats as possible, or she recognized Caesar as a threat herself. And upon rewatching it, I feel like she was also kind of trying to when she decided to blow up the dam early while not Caesar, I was about to say Caesar, while Noah's clan was still in the vault. She ran off and she blew up the dam, and it's almost like she tried to just drown them all and eliminate all the threats there. Um, or it could have been perceived as that, or she was just trying to create some sort of panic for her to make her escape. But on it is like on her way back home, she decided to confront Noah again. I think with the intention of, possibly eliminating their leader to scatter the apes more. But then upon seeing that he is much more compassionate, and he reminded her of Raka's compassion too, with
Yeah.
giving the pendant onto her. I think that almost changed her mind. Um, but she's still gonna be on the human side and wanting to, I think, ultimately defeat the apes because um, Noah was like, "Do you think Caesar was right that apes and humans could live together?" And she immediately she shakes her head, but then she says, "I don't know." She shook her head first.
Yeah,
She's saying
that's a
no. She
tell.
doesn't. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
interesting because the
Um,
original Planet of the Apes movie, of course, we know where this is all going in theory, but this is a reboot series, so there's always the
mhm,
lingering idea of is this all going to go that way, or hey, can we all just learn to get along? And I thought the cliched route would be, yeah, they learn to get along. She helps the apes in this movie, and by the end of it, the humans and apes are best friends. But no, she does betray them a little bit, and she
yeah,
causes great harm to even Caesar. I'm calling him Caesar too. Even Noah's tribe, she causes them a little bit of harm too, and then it just in to further her own ends. And then by the end of the movie, but there's still there's by the end of the movie, there's still that kind of down the road, it could go either way. And I found that to be a kind of a bold choice for the film. For those people that
yeah,
are calling it by the numbers, it's a bold choice, I thought.
hmm yeah. And Proximus is, his warnings against the humans um are still kind of, you can see them are instilled more in Noah, who just comes out of this whole situation like 100 times smarter and enlightened. But you can see this is what I am gonna miss Proximus, because it seems like he only had a few scenes, but he was able to do so much. Just the
Yeah.
fact that we had an ape leader who you could say in a way was like Caesar looking out in the big scheme for all the apes. He was going about it kind of harshly, forcing this kingdom to be created. But he was right in some areas. The humans will not stop, because they're also seeing everything in the big picture, bringing their society back. And he has William H. Macy teaching him everything about human history, and he's like, yeah, these guys are not going to stop until they reclaim their empire. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. And it is the time of the apes now. So yeah, but Noah is just a lot more, he sees things more at a personable level, and he does is just naturally more compassionate,
Yeah.
and
I,
sympathetic. So
You mentioned well that's before I lose that thought. Yeah, it's so smart just the way they goes back to how smart it was to set up Noah, his tribe, get us invested in their personal struggle because yeah, there's this larger storyline going on with leading up to the original movie, but giving us that personal POV character, they just did such a good job with that. And then the other thing was you mentioned William H. Macy. I like William H. Macy. He did a great supporting role here. He's kind of fun. And then he was
oh
kind
yeah.
of funny at times, a little, a little lighthearted. And then whenever he takes a little darker turns there towards the end of the
Mhm.
film, until well, we're in spoilers, until he meets his fate, being killed by the other human character of all people. I thought that was good
Mhm.
development for him, but also good development for her as well.
It was good for Noah to see that too, because what I immediately thought of was the Caesar's law, ape
Yeah.
no kill ape. Human just kill
Oh,
human.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. It's such a fascinating movie, and I'm just so excited to see more sequels. It seems like they're going to continue, obviously. It seems like this movie
We're
did
gonna
really
have
well at the
to
box office.
we're gonna have to have Caesar come back as a force ghost to set things straight.
He has to come
Which is what
back.
they should have done
Yeah.
in our Star Wars Episode 7.
He has to come back and grab the Jedi, or as Noah is tossing the lightsaber, Caesar comes back as the Force Ghost and grabs it and says, "A Jedi's weapon deserves more respect. Ape weapon deserve more respect." And then he talks about how he was wrong and failed in the last movie. I hate the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Yeah, but I'm so thankful that we got to have Episode 9, the masterclass of every Star Wars story. Beautiful, perfect.
Is there anything
Sarcasm.
else?
It's
Is
the
there
word.
is there anything else to say about Kingdom of the Planet
Um,
of the Apes? I'm trying to think. I mean, where do you think they're going to go with the sequels? Will they eventually just remake Planet of the Apes? Do you want to see that? I think they could do a trilogy with Noah.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I think they are going to do the rumor right now, I don't know if you heard of this, is that they have like five more in the tank. Uh like that are
I've
they
heard
have these stories
conflicting
primed ready.
reports. I've heard that they want to do
Hmm.
9 total, including the 4 that already exist, 9 total. I've heard
Right.
that they're not even that they're just now starting to write the because they didn't obviously they didn't have a plan for this film when they were doing War. This movie came after
Yeah.
War, but then I've heard before that it's all or this movie came like the script for this movie came after War was finished with production. But then people have also said that they've have it all planned out. So I don't know what to expect, honestly.
Yeah, well, as long as if it's same caliber as this kind of movie, I'm hoping this is a very strong foundation, and I'm hoping, yeah, we just if we stick with these same characters, I'm honestly hoping Rocka comes back, because I don't know if you heard about this either, but after the credits, you can actually hear an orangutan. Um, yeah, so there's a chance that he's still alive. He just went for a little swim.
Oh wow. I
So
want to get to the
if he is
point.
still alive,
Oh, that'd be good.
yeah, or maybe they're just saying his teachings about Caesar are still alive. Maybe they're just saying it more like that. Um, but yeah, honestly, you could, if someone stopped, if they did stop here, ties into the original Planet of the Apes beautifully, because what I thought immediately was, this is a great way to end it, by the way, when they were like looking through the
Yeah.
telescope and looking out into space. I was like, are they seeing the spaceship that the original astronauts were like left Earth in, and are they
Oh.
finally coming back? Yeah, did you ever think about that?
No, I never thought about that. I thought it was like a thematic, like let's look to the stars and maybe we'll do that next, or maybe we'll like it's just like a kind of thematic way of showing that the
Mhm.
further advancement is coming. But you're right. In Rise of the Planet of the Apes, there is the Easter egg that the
Yeah.
astronauts disappear in the background of that movie, and
Mhm.
so that's already been set up. They could return in a future installment in the reboot series.
And right before they look through that telescope at the end, there's a mural of an astronaut that they
Yeah.
look at.
Oh wow.
So I feel like that's something the creators probably wanted us
To
to think
think.
of.
Yeah.
Um, if not coming it'd be so crazy if they did just like a modern Planet of the Apes next. But you can still build up to it. You can
At least
have it
one
be more
movie.
conflict between the remaining humans.
Yeah, at
Yeah,
least
in
one
between.
more movie in between, I think. If you did the sixth movie in total of this reboot series as be like a proper Planet of the Apes movie, I think that'd be really good because I you still have to get to the point where apes are building their own structures and technology and like technology
Yeah,
like similar to what we see in our human culture. And you have to get to the point where they're wearing clothes as well. So you got
yeah, they
one
have
I
their
need one
whole
more movie to kind of
utopia.
get there. And it'd be interesting if Noah unwittingly is a leader in that process getting there. Sometimes the road to the Planet
Ooh,
of the Apes is paved with good
yeah,
intentions.
yeah. Maybe he does something, or the humans do something that is able to get that spaceship kind of bring it back to Earth. Essentially, I don't know how, but you could even have it be if like this trilogy end with either I don't know if it's one human that's ultimately or going to be like a team of humans, or maybe there were dozens of people on that ship. Who knows? But you can have the next trilogy kind of be after they come back to Earth, and then you can get really crazy with it, like they did
Yeah.
with the originals, and bring out the nukes, bring out time travel. I'm ready. Why
Yeah,
not?
because they did that originally. They go back to back to like the 70s, like San Francisco or something
Crazy.
later. It's so funny.
Maybe
Um,
not get as corny with it, but Cornelius is involved, so
I think that's where we'll leave off. Ricky, thank you so much. Midnight Classics and the Prisoner Cinema is available now on the Midnight Classics YouTube channel. And I want to just link it in the description to encourage everybody to check it out. Ricardo Saucedo, thank you so much for joining the show today.
yeah, of course. Thanks, Sam. See you next time.
All right, that's our show. I'd like to thank Ricardo Saucedo for joining me this week. Make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube. We got one more episode coming up next Monday, but then we're off until July 1st. Again, we'll be posting a lot of shorts and Facebook Reels and TikToks in the meantime, so make sure you're subscribed. We'll see you then. I'm Sam Carrico. Thanks so much.